As we rapidly approach the end of a very busy 2025, we catch up with Ferrero's Francesco Tramontin to discuss his appearance at this year's World Confectionery Conference in Brussels and look ahead to the future in terms of the EUDR regulations that are key for deforestation and its parallel corporate due diligence, as well as discussing some of the key festive favourites hitting shelves this Christmas.
As usual, Neil, I really enjoy the diversity of conversations and the different levels at which World Confectionery Conference operates. So you go from the very big pictures and the trends, that's normally where you start from, to deep diving in some more technical aspects and everything in between. So I really enjoyed it. I think it was particularly successful, again, in bringing in that diversity of thoughts and perspective, and somehow the complexity and its simplicity of our sector of confectionery. I think it's easy to get. Our product speaks for themselves, but the environment in which we operate is always complex, and especially these days, there's a lot of uncertainty.
And obviously, the big topic at the moment, as far as you're concerned, centres around the EUDR and its parallel corporate due diligence legislation. So there's been big challenges on getting that through. So could you sum up how you feel about where we are with that process now, that given that it looks like we're facing yet another year's delay on top of the 1 year already agreed?
Yeah, exactly. Assuming it will go in the direction of a delay and some sketched modifications, which are part of the compromise. In the case of EUDR, I mean, I cannot hide. There's some disappointment. You've heard us and other companies and some of the NGOs and organizations we are working with already expressed doubts that what was proposed and pushed forward is really not a simplification, is a way of weakening the rules at the benefits of some players that are lagging behind in implementation. So it comes with that disappointment. It comes also with the certainty that we are in good companies that will go ahead working towards implementation the way we know it and the way we conceive it as the right way of doing business within EUDR, knowing that a legal framework is going to be beneficial anyway. So I think work continues with more uncertainty, but we'll try to use the implementing work to bring some knowledge into the system. We've also given, apparently, there's going to be a very early revision again in April. So I think the only way to inform that revision is really to bring some good evidence on the table.
Your role there, but for those who maybe are not that familiar with the policy, how do you see it best benefiting the cocoa and confectionery sector as a whole? What can it really do at its heart? What lies at its heart in your view?
Well, it's consistency, traceability, which is the foundation of doing any good business. And this is good business for the buyers as it is good business for the producers. And clarity for the consumers. There should be no consumer choice on sustainability negatives. And it's only through a policy intervention like this one, not only this one, but like this one, especially on the consuming end of it, that those guarantees to consumers can be provided, and a level playing field, and an equal distribution of investment in a way that it's not carried forward but few companies, and it doesn't become the deforestation free doesn't become a communication exercise. In a sector which is mostly composed by medium and small businesses, the risk is that you keep on widening the gap between, let's call it a corporate model of going about it, and this idea that a smaller company cannot do due diligence because it's burdensome, which is completely wrong. The idea of due diligence, and I'm bridging between EUDR and also some of the other rules, is that action is proportionate. If you're a small companies, you either have a very tight boutique supply chain, then controlling and checking it is very simple, or anyway, you are supported by a bigger player, a bigger supplier, which they will do the due diligence the way a big corporation does it. So the lack of understanding that due diligence is a very business-friendly concept is quite striking. And yeah, so that's worrying, but I'll insist. We know what's the right way of doing business. We were going these directions along others even before UDR. We are comforted from the fact that some of the foundations of what I'm saying now are being captured in the agreement on, for example, the due diligence directive, which is the risk-based approach. So not stopping at your tier one. Again, this applies to bigger companies, but the fact that this philosophy keep on remaining as the way to go about impacting the supply chain, it's very important and will continue.
The entire company, but it seems as if there's been a good year despite some of these tests out there. Do you feel there's been there's some solid progress?
Yeah, Ferrero is in a very good place in a trajectory growth. I mean, we are expanding, we are innovating. I mean, we have new products on the market that go, would say, beyond our traditional territory. So we have, for example, in Italy and UK, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a part of the It Natural range.
Oh, yes.
It's a fruit bar, which is it's very special. We're very proud of this expansion of our portfolio and this new innovation. We've invested in kind of our core categories. I mean, an example is Kinder Balls, is a new seasonal that we've launched in many European markets. Plus, obviously, a big focus in the US as a market for growth for us. So it has been a good year. This is a business that, in the face of uncertainty, has such a clarity in terms of serving the Valerias of this world. I think you probably recall the anecdote I make every year.
Just sorry, very quickly on the parallel legislation there on the corporate due diligence. There's several that are interlinked, and I think they've been, battered around the European Parliament as well. So how hopeful are you that those sets of legislations will also be approved in a fairly timely fashion at this point?
And I'm talking about the diligence. This is what we focus on rather than reporting requirements. And as I was saying, I was pleased to see that the most important part, which is the risk-based approach versus a tier one based approach, it seems to be part of the agreement. So if that makes it through, and knowing this is a directive that will need to be implemented, some of the main foundations of due diligence will be captured in the upcoming legislation. And then the rest will be a journey. While UDR was really about market access, so there's a more dramatic element to it. Due diligence is more about overall business conduct and responsibility, so it's more general. So the fact that some basic principles which are recognized, international standards are recognized, it's super important as a principles that will allow us to continue this journey. In an ideal world, the due diligence rules should have become before the market access rules like UDRs or forced labor regulation. But so you see, some of these pieces of the legislation puzzle are nevertheless happening. The fact they are being watered down makes it a bit more uncertain and confusing. It's also not easy for us internally to pass the right message to the operational part of our business, because they look for clarity and they look at us as people dealing with external affairs for clarity. But if the rules change every time and it's delayed twice, we risk of losing credibility. So the fact that some principles are going through, it's quite comforting, and that makes us happy.
There's also, in other aspects of your work in relation to the hazelnuts supply there in Turkey, I know that Ferrero has been doing some very good work in that respect. There's some real gains in terms of your sustainability, in terms of that sourcing there. How encouraged are you by those successes in recent times?
I think for us, progressing with our programs, again, also they're progressing with traceability, but also with an on-the-ground presence, whether it is managing some of the environmental impact or or social impact on, for example, in Turkey with hazelnuts, we have a wide-ranging program with ILO, a long-standing partnership with ILO, which applies to Ferrero, but also to the wider sector. To Adobestock is a fundamental piece of what we call Ferrero farming values. It actually was born out of our hazelnuts program because of the deep integration and the centrality for us of hazelnuts as a raw material. So those programs, whether it's hazelnuts, cocoa, palm oil, but if you see our CSR report, we also reported progress on dairy and coffee. I think our program and agenda goes on. So so we are very comfortable where we are going. Again, visibility, traceability, supplier relationship, and a very, very tight management of certain impacts are the foundations what we do and what we will continue be doing in the coming years.
Fantastic.
With a big need, let me say. So now that some of the framework in consuming countries like EUDR, due diligence is shaping up with a big need of going back in producing countries and looking at investment at scale. So I think that's going to be the name of the game in cocoa, but not only. Yeah, and back to sustainability, we have a very solid partnership. I mentioned ILO before, but on cocoa, for example, we have Save the Children, which is, Save the Children Italy, they are big strategic partners in implementing community programs on cocoa. So we've just got significant funding also from the Italian government to expand our program. So it's looking good. It's looking good.
Just on a Christmas note there, how much are you looking forward to celebrating with your family, and will the Francesco guitar make an appearance with some festive tunes?
Yes. So exactly next Saturday we have a few friends coming over. That's kind of a pre-Christmas party before leaving Brussels, and yes, the guitar will make its appearance. I'm not really good at Christmas song myself singing, so it's probably going to be my daughter who's turning into a better singer than I am, but with equal passion. She has the advantage of age, so I think she'll do the Christmas song. I'll do the guitar playing.
Brilliant.